the analysis is being aware of what I would say, the cycle of apathy to, or rather from empathy to apathy that's happening on a daily basis, which then the old Western thing of interests before principles and values, we see constantly going on. And that is, it depends then what interest or focus is given to the Palestinian-Israeli. Again, if you're working with the Israelis, as we do at the political level, the constant complaint for them, and confirmed by a research or a piece of research there last month, that in the regional context they cannot make any concessions. 84% in a poll agreed to that, the political argument of Netanyahu. Well, that has to be agreed, but go to the Jordanians or go to the Egyptians and say to them what's stopping regional stability, you might say, and they would say the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
Yes.
They put it as the center.
Yes.
So it's a complex mix, but I think you have to constantly try. If you get that right, I think this center will be a very valuable place. Very valuable place.
Given that geography is the heart of the region.
I think for such a center, first of all, I was happy to hear that the center is underlining the fact that it is independent, that it has no, so to speak, foreign agenda. Anyway, and this is very important because as far as I see things, in fact, we have a very serious lack of Palestinian-generated studies on almost every aspect of day-to-day life in Palestine. And not only vis-a-vis the Israelis in conflict with the Israelis. We have education problems, we have health problems, we have culture, the culture of education, the culture of health, and almost in every field. And it's obvious. We can see it everywhere. So it's not the problems that we have, in addition to the conflict with the Israelis, in addition to the split with Gaza, but we have lots of other problems that really need to be addressed from a Palestinian point of view, going back to the domestic thinking, or addressing a local issue, but also using the experience of the global atmosphere. The reason is, if we look around, I would say that most of the government cabinets, for instance, ministries, or various ministries, they either rely on international studies or by foreign scholars who come in and do a certain, and with due respect to everybody, sometimes a research that is done by a Palestinian who understands the dialect of and dynamics of the social problems within the Palestinian society are different. And then you see that there is a lack, I would call it, of knowledge, even among decision makers on our side, when it comes to dealing with almost every issue, not only with Israelis. Forget the Israeli conflict. There's no occupation, there's no conflict. We have, I mean, our society is like a big board that has so many little boxes in between, and every box has a little problem that has to, or a big problem even that needs to be addressed. When you focus, when you zoom in, you have to work more and more and more on very specific issues. And also when you zoom out, then you start looking at the global perspective of this problem. I'm so happy because what I just heard in the last few minutes since I walked in matches something that I've been talking about over the last few weeks with quite a number of civil society organizations, talking about all sorts of activities that they do. And I said, and I always argue, that you need to think Palestinian and not to be donor-driven thinker and serve certain issues, certain agendas, when sometimes they may or may not meet your needs and necessities. I think what the center can do, I mean, there are the short-term, I would call a checklist that needs to be done in the coming, within, say, a 5-year plan. I don't think that this current situation is going to last forever, in terms of occupation and so on and so forth. We may have to address very immediate issues within the Palestinian society in all fields. The rule of law, education, health, and the list of very thing, because there is some kind of a cultural problem sometimes in the way that people perceive lots of issues, and sometimes you find that they are blocked and they don't know anything. And the data that is very important to use in whichever step or move or decision you want to take is something that sometimes we lack. I mean, the gentleman here referred to the issue of do we need exactly what is the cost of the split between Gaza and how much? And we would just go and Google researches that are done I don't know where. But we have to have people working on these and directed by or driven, I would say, by without any political agendas. They don't have to be Fatah or Hamas or whatever, but they have to be at least pure scholars who look at the things, who have the capacity to diagnose a certain problem, bring a list of symptoms that they found, and also a list of resolutions or solutions to that problem. That is exactly what the center can do, and I think we have to split between the long-term thing that has to be done within the coming 3, 4, or 5, up to 5 years, and also prepare a sort of a strategic long-term vision of what the center can do, and I hope in a totally different future in 5 years from now. We'll go on this later on.
Thank you, and I fully agree with you. We are tired from the agendas. We will be working as academic people, and you are the partners. I think we will be thinking after this meeting, how can we cooperate together in each step? We will do it in the future. So our policy, our action plan, our research, our main points we will be working during the short term or long term. I think we will disseminate all these things between our partner to work as one group. This is just ideas we thinking about it.
Yeah, we will break now for like 15 minutes. When we come back, we will focus the discussion on the partners' intervention in the center. So we, Dr. Ayman and Dr. Iyad will be shedding light on certain areas, and kindly please help us see where every partner could contribute in the areas that we have identified as a center. So hopefully at the second stage. And now we're going to start with the partners' intervention, and Dr. Iyad will take the lead for now.
Okay. Thank you for the very important that we received from you in the first session. Really has helped us a lot, and now the picture is very clear for us where we are going. And now we will be talking about what is the next step in cooperation, what the field we can cooperate together from the point of each one potential partnership. So we put some ideas. This is not the limited points, just to open discussion between us. So first of all, about research and scholarship, we talk about a lot. First field we talking about research and scholarship. We talking about joint research publication, development, study material, transfer of knowledge between research groups, successful long-term scientific and educational cooperation between researchers of centers and partners. So this is the first subject we can talk about it after I finish my presentation. The second thing is the capacity building. As we feeling yesterday, we don't have this capacity building in Palestine. They're talking about the conflict resolution, about peace building, about peace making. So we hope to have capacity building with our partners to exchange the staff and the researcher in this field, visiting lectures, capacity programs, strengthen the research capacity, involvement of PhD students, master's and doctoral degree students. Conferences, seminars, workshops. I feel we should have sustainable activities to be sure all the partnership are involved in our activities. For this reason, we need to discuss What kind of conferences? One of the ideas is to have one annual conference every year to discuss what the papers and the research we conducted last year, and we invite the decision makers, the policy decision makers, to give ideas, to talk about the policy and what the strategy in Palestine. And about seminars, do we need regular seminars? Do we need a steering committee for the centers? All these ideas we hope now to talk about it and to see how can we have sustainable activities and sustainable centers for the future. A future cooperation supporting research center, disseminating information about programs or new calls for the proposal, participating in national and international networks and working groups, organizing meeting or training courses, seminars and conferences. So this is just we start preliminary ideas we would like to talk, and I hope now to hear from each one according to his position, according to his institutional organization point of view, how can he be a partner in our center.
Thank you, Iyad, but Dr. Yusuf will be adding.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Dr. Iyad. Thank you, Dr. Dalal, for your managing and chairing this session. Maybe I'm a little bit optimistic and, have enough zeal to say that our final intention is to have a Palestinian school of thought on conflict resolution. This is legal. This is very legitimate at the end of the day. And yesterday I was discussing with Matt. We have three practical school of thoughts on conflict resolution and non-violence. One of them, was defended, openly by Mahatma Gandhi. The other by Jimmy Sharp, and in the middle, Martin Luther King. We hope to contribute something. And generally, in our classes, we refer to these three schools of thought when it comes to conflict resolution and conflict transformation. I think at this stage, it is legitimate to dream, but at the end of the day, we have to be more realistic and more pragmatic when it comes to running the center. My second intervention at this stage, I think we need to have a kind of strategic plan for the center. Maybe in the next 6 to 8 months, we will be able to build a kind where we are going, what are the broader objectives, and how we can transmit these objectives into specific action plan and specific activities. And I do strongly support Yunus that we should be an umbrella, not only for our scholars in this university, but for scholars and researchers from other universities. We have personal and professional connections with many of them, and I think some of them are ready and open up to cooperate and collaborate in this, in this direction, along, of course, with, expertise from our foreign, colleagues who are coming from different universities and academic institutes. The third intervention, conflict resolution, and I think this is the essence of the center is to go for interdisciplinary approach.
Yes.
It is not only pure politics. It is an interdisciplinary approach where we have, where we need expertise and experts in political science, in sociology, in psychology. My course, conflict resolution theory and the practice, a major part of it, when it comes to training, it is psychology, skills, we need skills, we need to be involved also in, in local conflicts. It is not only Palestine, Israel. We have many conflicts at local levels, regional, local municipalities, local elections. So this is important. Even in the universities, when it comes to the student democracy, during the election for the student council, in the different factional politics, I think, we are, fertile land for doing research, relying on primary methodologies, primary collecting data, in that field. So interdisciplinary research is really, is a welcome at this stage, and I think we are open and ready to open up for any initiative. Yesterday we were discussing about, how the Palestinians can do a reading, an intellectual paradigm, Palestinian intellectual paradigm for, you know, the contribution of Martin Luther King and how much Martin Luther King thought is applicable to, you know, to our context at both, you know, at theoretical level as well as at the practical level, because, you know, the ambition is to build, you know, this, this movement. My third point is, I think the students should come in, since we are, in my class, and I think with Dr. Dalal and with Dr. Iyad also, we don't have final exams written, memorizing. We rely more in our assessment on research papers. And, you know, by research papers, we teach. Presentation, research papers, you know, policy, field work, invited guests, and I think this is the essence of modern teaching. So students could be part of our future research and scholarly work, where they can help in data collection, data analysis. They can help us in many areas, and in the future publication, their names should be attached with our names. So I'm working in that strategy. At this stage, I have 4 students who are doing their dissertations under my supervision. One of them is doing, do we have a Palestinian peace movement? This is the main research question. I told him, please go to the field, interview people. Don't have any stereotype, don't have any prejudgment. You know, should have that courage to investigate this phenomena from both, from policymaker perspective as well as from social movements and civil society perspective. We should go for the argument who are in favor of having, argument in favor and argument against. So we have 2 main chapters. So I think the students could be good material for future research in the Palestinian context, and we have to deepen that. If you want to have tangible results, because sometimes academics are a little bit lazy after some time, sometimes. So students have enough energy, enough youthness in their hearts and their minds to lead the discussion in that way. When it comes also to research, I think, policy papers, strategic papers are needed on some certain issues. As I was discussing with Mr. Ilyas from President Office, we need research in different areas, including environment, including water, including local government. We should not be only have that obsession with Palestine, Israel. No, we have different accumulative conflicts at different levels, and I think all these are very much open. Internship for our staff in other countries, yes, and for our students will open a new horizon for research and will open a new horizon for seeing, what others. I need to see exactly what others have written about Palestine also. Foreign scholars, their research papers, their scholarly contribution, bring it to the classroom, debate it, and match it with our local narrative, and at the end, I think we should celebrate the differences. This critical approach and mainstream approach should be on the table, and let us take final judgment and final decision. So we are a platform for a kind of research with different paradigms and different theoretical perspectives. When it comes to conferences, yes, I do agree with Dr. Iyad and with Dr. Dalal that we should be planning from now for the next annual conference, and we need to decide the main theme, the main sub-themes and the objectives, and to decide and to see who are from our global partners and foreign colleagues who are ready to be part of this intellectual paradigm. And we need to have written papers, not only presentation, written, documented, peer-reviewed papers, so that we can publish that in a proceeding, so that we can carry and we can benefit from this research. So internship is important, academic exchange is important, student internship is important, and finally, I would like to tell you that my last paper was published by Routledge. We are a group of 15 Palestinians and British scholars who did very good work on peace building in Palestine, and our book has already come with Marwan Darwish and with other scholars. So it is a kind of narrative as well as look at Palestine is also global with its different dimensions at all levels. Thank you.
Thank you, Ayman. But before we proceed, I'd like to welcome Mr. Sabas, the representative of the Cyprus. No, we're happy you joined, and we have introduced the vision, mission, and objectives of the center. In this session, we're discussing the partners intervention. So Dr. Iyad has clarified the angles of cooperation or the channels that we and the partners will be cooperating on. And now the floor is yours to help us feed the vision or any cooperation channel between your institutions or your offices and the center.
Just I want to add one point. We discussed it during our break. We are open. We don't have just one way. So we are open in all the research according to the conflict resolution. So the cooperation will be not just for the quantitatively or the qualitatively. We are open for all the research. It belongs to the conflict resolution. So just I want to.
And that's the reason we held this session before, starting the work. And we really want some feedback, and your opinion is very valuable to us.
So because you're final.
Yes, I'm so sorry. We came late and
We're
we had
going
to
to
leave
start with
early.
the
Thank you. Yeah, we will have to leave in 5 minutes. But some reflections on what we FBA possibly could do and what the cooperation could contain. First of all, we are limited in the sense of establishing formal partnerships. In the sense to write an agreement that this is what the cooperation should look like. Still, there are different ways that we can cooperate. And just to give a bit more on what we do and where I think we could have an exchange is we have training programs, and normally it's workshops, courses that range from a couple of days to a week, on security sector reform, on disarmament, immobilization and reintegration, on dialogue and mediation, on rule of law, on leadership and policy advice, and gender integration in peace operations. So these are our kind of main expert areas within FBA, where we have our own experts and where we run training and also provide policy advice. And here we have established curricula that we've been working on for a long time. So this is, if these are also policy areas that are interesting for the university, this is something that we can explore. How we could work with that. We also have a number of research groups, which basically means that we are providing small amounts of funding for researchers to write and convene on different thematic, on different themes, and it can be on efficiency in peace operations, on Security Council Resolution 1325, on what else do we have?
Also, we work with them as a network and sort of have a cooperation between the different universities that they represent. So that's.
And this is not only Swedish universities,
No,
it's primarily universities from. So this is a network that where we were thinking now that it could be interesting also for you to be part of one or more of these groups, depending on where you're heading in your focus.
The Women Network.
It's
the
on
research group networks. So
it's
we connect different researchers within the network, and we can provide seed money for different projects.
And we convene the researchers like once a year, and then this is also an opportunity to exchange ideas and things and compare the research. And so the different thematic areas are security sector reform, peace operations or efficiency in peace operations.
DR.
Disarmament, immobilization and reintegration, and gender in peace and conflict. So here we can put you in contact with our colleagues who are responsible for that. And I think one other approach is the Palestinian ambassador to Sweden has been in contact with some of the universities, and she has been exploring what an academic exchange could look like. So I think when we come back, we will talk to her and we can discuss, because she should probably be involved in this, in talking to the Uppsala University, and we also have the conflict and peace studies in Gothenburg. And there are studies related to this at the Lund University too. So we can talk to Hala Faris and see how this could be organized also.
We will be glad to contact her and get her in the
So
loop, of course.
let's coordinate how we do it, and
Of course.
yeah. So I think this is what can be done in the first step, and also when we come here and do our trainings at the Ministry for Foreign Affairs, or when we have different practitioners coming here, possibly for the Shades alumni sessions, we could also explore if it's interesting, if it fits into your curricula, to bring them here to give a presentation or discussion or workshop.
Okay, so you're right. So I'm just listing the potential partnership channels. So training programs, funding for researchers, and you mentioned that you convene researchers. You bring in researchers from all over the world to Stockholm, or what?
Yeah, once a year, once every second year, we have an annual meeting when we bring them together and discuss different topics.
Okay, and you specify the topics of security sector reform, dialogue and mediation, rule of law, gender integration.
This is
building of
our.
the
This
office.
is no, sorry.
Your
That's
training-
our.
Yes, the training that
It's
you will
not.
offer.
Yeah. So that is not the. I will send you the list
Okay,
of the
perfect.
research group. I think that's safer. because-
No, I thought those are the sectors where you could offer trainings on.
Yes.
Okay, I got you right.
Yeah.
And the academic exchange with Swedish universities, of course.
Mm.
Ian had mentioned the conference, an annual conference. Do you see yourself contributing to that?
Yeah, it could. I mean, yes, if you think it's relevant, when you think it's relevant, and perhaps if you have different focus areas, different things where you can see that our expertise is relevant and useful.
Yeah.
When it comes to more of like an academic exchange, hopefully, like we make sure that you have an established partnership with some Swedish universities, and I think they are probably more relevant for you as a partner. But when it comes to expert areas where you think it's relevant and interesting, then we're happy to do it.
If you allow me just again to ask the same question for Dr. Bilal, just to write about, we thinking to have annual conference. And this annual conference, we will talk about the visions, the national security, all these high to big themes will be discussed. Are you interested to be the sponsor or to be a potential partnership in this, or the steering committee?
I need to bring that question back to FBA, because, and this is a completely technical issue. This thing that we can't enter into formal partnerships, or there is a limitation that restricts us for doing that. So it means that it's very complicated for us to sign agreements.
Sure.
So this is, I need to bring that back to, and if you could just specify what it means to enter a formal partnership, we might be able to work that out. But I think without compromising that, we're happy to contribute, and where you think it's interesting and relevant, we're happy to do that.
Thank you.
And now we unfortunately have to leave, so thank you for inviting us. And
Thank you. It was a pleasure having you as always, and we're looking forward to more cooperation with you in the future.
for
I
sure.
think you will send all the next week to the partners after we finish. Or
Once this is done in a week or so, you will be expecting to receive an email from me covering all of what was discussed today and maybe an action plan to take it forward. So we will be happy to hear your feedback again.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for saying
you.
this.
Well, I'm happy to serve you.
You're the chosen.
No. I mean, first of all, it's a bit different than the FBA because we are political diplomatic representation. And as such, I think, as you identified in your concept note, potential partners, and you mentioned Swiss Peace, you mentioned the GSSP in Geneva, I think would be a very logical step to think. I mean, we know, for instance, Swiss Peace very well. I will not speak on their behalf because for obvious reasons, but we have a working relationship with them. Also, when it comes to our action in reconciliation, so we are. I mean, you are in direct contact with them. They intervened here, and not speaking on their behalf, I do think that they have this target of academics, of academia as potential partners very much high on the agenda. And I know that you discussed with Roland Dietli, and of course we'll be happy to facilitate any contact if needed to Swiss organizations. I mean, we also transmitted the invitations to this roundtable here, and are happy to follow up also as an office or as a
I hate to interrupt you, but just to elaborate on what you're saying, the partnership we have with Swiss Peace is already there. They
Yeah.
come here.
Yeah.
But it's paid, Ayman?
Yes,
Paid.
yes, yes. It's paid,
So
yes.
my question to you may be, is there any way that you have educational section in the consulate where you could help us cover that? And I was at the GCSP a couple of months ago in Geneva, and they were very clear, the director was very clear that if they need to, or if they intend to work in any certain area in the world, they prefer that it comes through the diplomatic representation office.
Yeah, but in terms of facilitation rather than in terms of funding, I think not the representation office. I mean, we do have, and as I said at the beginning, I'm responsible for a program in peace promotion and in human rights. We do have the possibility to support also in the institutions in terms of activities, but this is rather in a limited way, I have to say. In the education is not part. Of course, we have the Swiss Development Corporation here, and here we have different focuses. One of them being rule of law, one of them being local governance, one of them being agriculture, and we are not. Switzerland is not very active in the educational sector. I think how I see it, and this is what I wanted to add to the obvious parts of partnering in terms of knowledge, like for instance Swiss Peace, we intervened here many times. Where I see it is really more like the discussion we had this morning and an exchange of information in subjects, and we have a high interest in the Palestinian political developments, inter-Palestinian political developments. And here maybe a model would also be, as was done in the past actually when intervenants from Swiss Peace came here, you know, when it comes to our action in terms of reconciliation, to have an interaction with your students. And I remember last year, I think the representative presented the work we have been trying to do, but in a very reflective way, you know, like in a very as a kind of sounding board also, and maybe also explaining more in this.
There is an institute in Swiss, Institute for Peace and Dialogue, and they are very active in about conflict resolution, and they have a lot of training courses.
Swiss
Institute for Peace and Dialogue.
Institute for Peace.
Yes, and they have very active globally, not just regionally. And I contact them, and they are very welcome to support and to help in all these teams. So
Based in Geneva?
in Geneva, yes. And they like to be work with us on this issue. I don't know how can you support us or help us or connect between the two centers.
Well, I mean, as I said, I think we are and as I said also, being the foreign ministry, I mean, we are happy to facilitate any contact to Swiss institutions, and I do think there are Swiss institutions that are very relevant. For instance, there's also a relatively new master program in conflict resolution in the University of Basel. You know, like and with the contacts we have, we can have that. So we are happy to facilitate any contact. Then of course it is the civil society in Switzerland, no? It is not the foreign ministry. So in terms of so just to have these two differences there. But I mean, in terms of creating contacts, also maybe let's brainstorm what other institutions could be interesting in creating contacts. And then I would say more from our side, the interest, I mean, as I said, I think it is very relevant what you plan to do and this gap, especially when it comes to this to the political developments. And I think my colleagues here, we are also always interested in sharing experience, you know, like in thinking together with you, with your students, and in addition to this, since we are quite active in Gaza also, you know, with civil society organizations. I mean, you mentioned Palfing or others. Also here, I mean, our interest is really to create links between Gaza and the West Bank, institutional links, etc. And we are happy to support India as well.
I have two questions for you. So do you mind being part of our relationship with the Swiss Institute? Should we do it directly with each one of them, or you want to be involved in one loop that brings them together, the AAU with the different Swiss academic institutions?
No, I mean,
What's your advice?
Yeah, my advice would be, I mean, it is, you know, like from civil society to civil society. I don't think we have to be involved we are happy to support. I don't think we should be actually I don't think you should want us to be formally involved in such partnership.
And regarding Gaza, how do you see yourself contributing? Because I myself, for example, applied for permits many times to go to Gaza, and I wasn't able to obtain one. So, like, do you have connections with institutions in Gaza itself, or like you could help facilitate the process of researchers coming from Ramallah to go to, or Jenin or Nablus or Beit Hebron to go to Gaza? How do you see the rep office contributing to Gaza?
Well, it's I mean, as you know, it's a difficult question.
Yes.
Like we have been and we are in the past. I mean, on this process I mentioned in terms of the role of the civil society for reconciliation. We have been supporting this process with institutions, and there have been workshops in Gaza and in the West Bank where actually it was possible to get participants in and out, like on the I mean, formally, I think this researchers going from back and forth goes through the and at the time it was like this, like goes through the regular system of applying for permits, and we can possibly provide a letter of support. You know, like this is something we have, by the way, also I think it's important to empower the system of coordination that is in place, and not that diplomatic missions do this directly. You know, but supporting letters, etc., can be possible if there's a link to our activities. This is more in the consular section, but this is what it's like.
Thank you. And in the conference, seminars,
Well, as I said, I mean, seminars, etc. I mean, in this information sharing, maybe also sometimes in a more confidential settings, more like in terms of sounding board. Annual conference, we are happy to look into possibilities of participating, providing input on the. I mean, we are happy to look into it.
thank you very much.
Thank you, and I'm sorry I was late in this the first part. We spoke about it before. Since my arrival in 2015, I have come to some observations and came to some conclusions that there was no cooperation between academic institutions between Cyprus and Palestine, or even in the region. So we, as a diplomatic mission, pushed forward the idea of academic cooperation, and a couple of months ago we held a trilateral meeting between Cyprus, Palestine and Greece, and we tried to promote cooperation in a regional level, in a multilateral level, in order to promote joint research projects, and especially in conflict resolution, and our region, Eastern Mediterranean, Middle East. So we held the first meeting with the Minister of Foreign Affairs a couple of months ago, and we have agreed that academic institutions from Greece, Cyprus and Palestine will cooperate in joint research projects in order to, that the three academic institutions would decide in the fields of maybe Middle East developments or conflict resolution, which is, we have common interest and knowledge. So we're hoping that universities from the countries will get together. They will decide what they're going to have, the project is going to be, and they're going to present it in a trilateral Ministry of Foreign Affairs level in Cyprus in September.
Wow.
So, and that's the first step forward, and that would be our showcase of regional cooperation between academic institutions. Because from when I came here and I looked at, there is ignorance about each other's conflicts, first of all. I understood, I realized that we didn't know much about the conflicts in the Middle East, as Palestinians didn't know much of the conflicts that Greece was facing, or Cyprus was facing, or the problems that have with the migration, refugee crisis, and etc. So, and we established that despite common problems and interests in the region, we didn't have a multilateral framework of cooperation due to the political problems, Arabs and Israel and etc., Cyprus and Turkey. So through these cooperations, through these trilateral cooperations, we're trying to establish a future multilateral framework that could help us understand and build and resolve conflicts. So, we have identified our academic institutions, the University of Cyprus, and now we're looking for partners. Partners from Palestine and partners from Greece. I don't know, I hope I wasn't informed by the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Palestine yet, which is going to be which universities have they conducted. I'll be very happy to cooperate with the Arab American University and on the issue of conflict resolutions. As you may know, we are in the process of trying to solve the Cyprus issue. The Swiss government has been very helpful towards that. They facilitated the meetings in Geneva. And, we can share our knowledge and see what comes out. So now we're in the phase that we were waiting for partners. And we threw the idea, and then we tried to push it down to the academic institutions themselves to create the work and the framework of their cooperation. It's up to them at the end of the day.
So if I got you right, in September, this meeting is going to be held for sure.
Yes,
Very good.
but we in September we want to demonstrate the work, the research of the 3 academic institutions, and our idea was to have to designate the focal points from each university, which will coordinate the projects, the theme, and the framework of what they're going to work together on.
So that is excellent, and that is actually a way to facilitate our job. But besides that, do you see your office here being involved, for example, in giving internships for researchers to go to Cyprus and conduct research there? Maybe covering them financially while doing the research in Cyprus, maybe bringing in diplomats,
We have talked about
besides the academic
yes.
cooperation on the
We have-
university level.
Well, in the framework of trilateral cooperation, we have agreed that diplomats from the 3 countries would, Palestinian diplomats will go and get trained in public administration in Cyprus, and they'll go to diplomatic academy in Greece. The same Cypriot diplomat, young Cypriot diplomats will come to Palestine to see and identify what is the separation barrier, what is occupation, what is settlements, because we have our own version of settlements and ceasefire line, but listening about it and seeing it by your own eyes is a completely different reality. I think it's we have created this framework of cooperation, but the academic institutions, I would like to believe it in a different level. And internships and stuff, we're already giving them. I mean, we're giving a lot of scholarships in undergraduate, masters, etc. But we could push for more internships in universities and stuff.
Well, actually, your intervention takes us back to the discussion of regional and global dimension. And happily, we introduced the Cypriot as a case study in the module of comparative peace processes. And very kindly, Mr. Savas, he comes and he lectures our students and he briefs them from a diplomatic Cypriot perspective on the conflict and the peace process. So I know you're in for a partnership and cooperation with us, with the Arab American University, and with the
Of course, but I would like the request for your university to come from the Minister of Foreign Affairs. I mean, if the Minister of Affairs recommends the conflict resolutions issue and your university to be our University of Cyprus partner, that would be great.
Okay, can I just ask you that this? I think it's so interesting, this trilateral academic cooperation. On which subjects will this be? Did you define already? I mean, is it political science or is it?
We want to start with political science, and but we want to expand it to medical studies, pharmaceutical, to a range of fields: energy, renewable energy, environmental studies. So yeah, there's no limit.
Interesting.
The September meeting is scheduled to be in Cyprus.
Yes.
Okay.
It's going to be the first intergovernmental meeting between Cyprus and Palestine, 5 ministers from Palestine, 5 ministers from Cyprus. And when that finishes, we're going to have the trilateral meeting between the ministers of foreign affairs of Cyprus, Greece, and Palestine. Cyprus and Greece have created this trilateral framework of cooperations between countries in the region. We have one. We started with Egypt, Jordan, Israel, Lebanon, Palestine, and maybe in the future with Turkey and Syria.
Turkey?
Ambitious, just as we are.
So, actually, I believe that we have a lot of ideas about collaboration, especially that I guess my school, the School for Conflict Analysis and Resolution, will be delighted to collaborate. I still don't know in which frame, but I will explore that with the dean and also with some of the teachers. But I can think about some ideas, like I believe we have usually internship students who did the master or undergraduate in our school, conflict resolution, that they come to Palestine, Israel to do internship. So we can we can speak with this department that organizing the internship, so they can maybe send to you some internship students that have the background about conflict resolution, and you can collaborate with content or something here. This is something that I can think about it. And also I want to think maybe about some a Skype conversation with some of the founders of our school, like some of the teachers that founded the School for Conflict Analysis and Resolution, they are really for long years they are in the deep. They founded the content, they dealt with these challenges, so we can maybe have a Skype conversation as a steering committee or something like this with the dean of the school and with some teachers that are still in the school and that they can contribute to you about the challenges that you are facing or anything that they can exchange some ideas with you. So we can create this kind of conversation. And I think there are some teachers that would love to come and teach here, maybe for short training, and we are specialized. Our school, I can say, but Johnny can add, with the issue of identity, power, and critical thinking, and also narrative. This is some of the themes that our school is specialized with it, and also nonviolent struggle. And we can see who's from our teachers that have a long experience that they can come and give short training here. And we can exchange knowledge, and in addition to that we have alumni of a lot of students from around the world that study in our school, and also they are alumni, and we can think about joint research. I can link publish things in the alumni network of our school, and we can think about several collaboration that I will be happy to think together. It will be different ideas later, but this is what I'm thinking about.
Yes, we're talking about the student and the scholarship. We can thinking about sandwich program between our center and the university. And I know a lot of the students coming here and they face a lot of problems in collecting the data and how to contact the institutions, especially here or inside. I know they're facing a lot of problems, and maybe the time is finished with them and they not finish their task. So maybe in the future we have data bank information here, because you will be the only center in the region working in this issue. So maybe one of the ideas we have data bank for all this information and data about the research, and it is easy to receive and to bring any student coming over here, and we will help him and support him, not just technically and about administrative issues. So it's a very important thing. And in the same time, about the academic exchange, I thought we need capacity building. Until now, I think, I don't know, Dr. Ayman agree with me, we don't have a lot of academics or a lot of people who have experience in conflict resolution. And in peace building and all development, we don't have all these. So I think from the exchange of ideas and exchange of academics, we can have capacity building for the team here.
It will be contributing to them and to you. It's also for them, it will be very enriching experience to have this collaboration.
So we hope from you to contact your people there and to see in which way we have an MOU or we have a letter of interest between us or agreement. Just see what they can do and we will discuss it later.
They have some agreements with several centers in the world, so we can learn from this experience how they dealt with that and what we can bring to this now collaboration with you.
But I always mention that 90% of the agreement around the world, political or anything, if we don't have action plan and mechanism, how can we implement it? I think we fail.
Yes.
So we hope to have a very clear mechanism to do that.
Yes, just with Dr. Iyad just said, I think it is very much easy to host some of your colleagues there through Skype, and even to give 1 hour presentation to our students. Online presentation is very much our halls, teaching halls are equipped with technology and internet, so we can host some of you even instead of coming, and sometimes it is not possible to host some of you to lecture in certain specific issues, maybe a case study, maybe a theoretical paradigm or a theoretical conclusion, whatever, that we can decide the theme through online. I think the second point, what I feel is missing when I am very much in favor of going to the field in our context and building this alliance of academics, civil society, social movements, and policy making even, policy making set up in Palestine. I think what is missing, we don't have a good manual for training. Because some of our students might go for training, they want to be in training, training to resolve not only political issues, social issues. We can even work together in preparing a manual for a training in both Arabic and English, because some of our students really have the wish, and some of them, they can't understand much English. So these two drafts, one in Arabic and English, is really needed, and I think this can contribute, immensely and largely in the service, of in the service of local communities. The final point, this is a brainstorming session. We are exploring. We are going to keep in touch, and we are going to see, the possibilities. Maybe a sudden idea will come, strike our minds, maybe after the session. So we'll continue the discussion. It is exploring. We are building a platform for discussion and for dialogue, and we hope, we have to have a kind of fruitful and productive, partnership in the future.
And this Institute of Peace and Dialogue, they have about training, their guidelines or the training manual. They have a training monthly, they have a training every 3 months, and they have a training for 6 months. So they have a lot of programs in training, especially in conflict resolution. So they can, if we contact them through the consulate, I think they can help us in this issue. Who's next?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I just make 4 practical suggestions. The first is I'd like to invite the faculty to come on a study tour of the Irish conflict, and we can arrange that and work with the various political figures and institutions that we normally would work on. So I think that could be a very useful opportunity for you, not just to meet individuals that some would say were part of historical events. I'm talking about the former Irish Prime Minister Bertie Ahern and key people that were in the negotiation and key people on both sides of Northern Ireland. But I think it would be a good opportunity too to establish links with a number of Irish universities. I know the Irish representative to Palestine now is very keen to do that. We've already had discussions. So we could, in addition to doing the normal study tour or whatever, have a network to link up there. The second proposal is that we, from time to time, bring key people over from Ireland in particular, but also the UK, to meet here in Palestine, and also we have meetings at the Knesset and various. I'd be very happy to let you know when those people like Bertie Ahern coming over, when those key figures are coming over, or people involved currently in the political situation in Northern Ireland, and you could avail of their presence, have seminars, round tables, whatever. So we could do some practical planning on that, work together on that. Coming back to we have a memorandum of understanding with the education department here, which we've been working with Dr. Sabri Saddam, linking up with education both in the Prime Teacher Training College in the UK and in Northern Ireland. Now, part of that discussion was doing a joint master's in conflict resolution with Queen's University in Belfast, Queen's University were very keen to look at that. I think you would be an ideal partner in that. And it's, if you wanted to explore that, we work very closely with Queen's. We could explore that, and we could even explore it with Trinity, whatever you wish there. But that's something on the study tour that could be looked into and realised. And the last practical suggestion is we're in the initial stages of planning a Palestinian Women's Conference. We had an Israeli Women's Conference. We want to have a Palestinian Women's Conference, and it's usually chaired by a very prominent woman politician in the UK. We'd love to partner with you on that, so that you would identify people that you would think would be helpful, part of the ongoing dialogue here and work here, and we can do that straight away. So all of those four things are something that we can do without further discussion in terms of they're on the table. It's up to work out the practical arrangements. So those would be four areas that we could.
Well, that is excellent and very valuable. I'm sorry I'm sitting here because my computer ran out of battery. As for the study tour, that would be excellent to start with. And I'm already in contact with the representation office of Ireland here. Unfortunately, Declan couldn't make it today because he was on vacation. But we're in.
That's good.
And I bring him in, and he not only him, the rep also, to see my students and to lecture on the.
Excellent.
Yes, I bring them on the thesis. I have heard about the master's program with Queen's because I've been to Belfast last year, and I don't know if the Ministry of Education has done anything or did establish any contact with any Palestinian universities, but we would love to be that partner.
It's in initial stages of which we will be the main link for him, for the Ministry of Education. It was that sort of agreement that they requested.
As
So
far as I know, in Palestine, we are the only university that is offering not only an MA, actually an academic field discipline in conflict resolution in Palestine. So we would be glad and honored to be that
I think
relevant counterpart.
it's a natural partnership there, and Queen's are ready. We've had the initial conversations at Queen's, so it would be a question if we link it with the study tour. You could have a morning to meet with the faculty there, work out some of the practicalities.
We highly value the fact that you will be introducing us to the key people that you bring in Palestine. We'll be happy to host seminars, lectures, or roundtable discussions with them. That would be fruitful for us and for our students, and of course for the civil society. On the conference, the Women's Conference, we will also be glad to do so. Thank you very much for those practical points that you have raised. Interesting.
Yeah, okay, I think yes. In our case, I think Dr. Dar, we have to follow up this matter with the ministry. ممكن نروح لنا هذا مهم.
Do you think we should ourselves contact Dr. Sabri?
Well, I'll
or
be
you
seeing
are
him,
the-
probably I'll see him tomorrow when
Yeah,
he comes
okay,
back.
that's
So
good.
I
Is he
can,
back from
he's
Israel?
due back tomorrow,
Okay.
or certainly Thursday I will see him. So I can say I've been to
Yes.
this and we would look at that fix and
I will take
explore.
it from there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if he
Yeah.
would like us to go and discuss it with him, it will be
Yeah.
a pleasure.
Great.
Because sometimes, internal bureaucracy is,
Yes,
anti-partnership,
Yeah.
sometimes, keen interest, some vested interest. We are the only university which is offering master degree in conflict resolution and development, and we are very much open to this, to this idea. Not only joint research, joint teaching. We have excellent experience with some foreign colleagues who came from Belgium and the UK. We used to teach, two lecturers teaching one course, and we used to follow up, and that is excellent, building the course with the clear, intended outcomes, with the clear objectives, exchanging ideas, disseminating knowledge, and later on building research.
Yeah.
So we can start even with teaching. Teaching, and building curriculum at this stage is really crucial and important for us. we expect you to discuss maybe this issue with the minister, and if you need any follow-up, we are very much eager, as a university, higher administration, they will follow up, this idea. It is very important for us. The second point, I think, a mastery program in conflict resolution and central for conflict resolution, they are very, we are enhancing, our center is serving also our students, and it is a matter of a promotion for our master degree, in the future. And generally, we are very much keen to have a balanced number between boys and girls, balanced number between employed and unemployed. We have two cohorts, one in Jenin, which is more or less marginalized, and one in Ramallah, which is more, lucky enough. So we are trying to cover the whole Palestinian geography, and this is the essence. This is important, and I think in the future we'll have a kind of accumulative strategic partners, locally, regionally, and globally, of course, with your expertise, with your support, and with your help in the short term. Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. Yes. Please.
حكى
Want to add?
حكى already.
Okay, Matt, you want to add something?
Gee, I don't know that I can add
If-
much.
if-
You guys have covered all the bases.
Yeah.
I would say that in my case, I am associated with a number of different organizations that could be helpful.
Yeah.
Has already addressed George Mason, and there are so many possibilities. But that raises the question of other institutions in the United States that we are associated with, including Stanford and its Nonviolence Institute, King Nonviolence Institute. That would be a very strong relationship if you were interested. And tied with that is not only the academic aspect, but conferencing, seminars, workshops. Then there's, you mentioned training materials.
Yeah, training manual.
Training manuals. At Stanford, at the Drum Major Institute, another organization I'm associated with is Communities Without Boundaries International. All of these can feed into your own matrix,
Yeah.
which really what comes to mind. If there were a matrix of activities, whether they are curriculum-based or conference-based or training-based, it would be helpful to see such a thing, because then we would know where we exactly fit. So to the extent that we can better understand, rather than, to the extent that we can better understand the bigger picture and how you're trying to pull all the pieces together,
Yeah.
at least in my case, I would know where to more effectively plug in. And whether it should be, for example, George Mason or Stanford or our NGO network. Then there's internships. We have a whole global network where students could have very practical internships, not only in the U.S. but around the world. So there's a lot here, and putting our arms around it and trying to determine where we can add the greatest value to what you're trying to do is really what I'm trying to think through. Rather than giving you busy work, as we say, it's something very practical and useful that adds value to building the center as you wish. Does that make sense?
If I get you right, are you telling me if we're interested in building this partnership with the Stanford Institute, for example, you can do